Okay, honestly, not playing League of Legends has been one of the worst experiences of my life. I've not had a very hard life. That's a pretty big statement that probably needs some qualification, so let me go ahead and provide you with some. Hello, if you don't know me already, my name's GBay99, and I've been playing League of Legends since the year 2010. Back then in Season 1 was when I first discovered the game, and I've played it pretty much daily ever since. Each season, I'll grind between a few hundred and a few thousand ranked matches trying to climb the solo queue ladder. For the past 5 seasons or so, I've been setting Diamond rating as a sort of soft target I aim for each year, which I've been able to consistently reach for around half a decade now. That is until late summer, early fall of Season 10 back in 2020. When I was doing my regular grind for that year, trying to get myself back up to Diamond, something odd happened to me where I started feeling a strange discomfort in my hand, my wrist, and my forearm. It was becoming a kind of nagging problem that I just kind of ignored. I did the millennial thing of ignoring an issue, hoping it would go away. But it didn't go away. It came back and got worse and worse. And the more I played, the more the pain grew until suddenly one day I couldn't take it anymore. I could no longer use a mouse. My middle finger hurt so much to use that I could no longer right-click a mouse without being in an extreme level of discomfort and pain, which of course was a terrifying experience. Naturally, I went to a doctor and was told that I almost certainly have carpal tunnel syndrome, which is not a fun problem to deal with. Basically, the only immediate permanent fix for carpal tunnel is surgery, which I've been trying to get surgery for a number of months now, but I live in the United States and our healthcare system is terrible. I can't even get a doctor on the phone to return my calls, much less actually get the surgery, which the surgery is going to cost me like $5,000 even if I go to someone who takes my insurance and everything. It's The only other option to really treat carpal tunnel, though, is rest. You can try and do everything in your power to rest your wrist, wear a brace at night, ice it during the day if you need to, don't use your hand for strenuous activities, and as time goes on, the pain should subside at least a little bit, if not entirely. So that's what I've been doing, and because of that, it has now been almost a full year since I've played any League of Legends. The last match I played was, I think, in August or September of 2020. I have never gone this long before of not playing any League of Legends since I first picked the game up back in 2010. League of Legends is a pretty interesting game because of how much the community hates it. I mean, nobody hates League of Legends more than League of Legends players. It's kind of interesting, all the different stressful experiences, from AFKs to trolls to intentional feeders to players who are so bad you think they're intentionally feeding. All of this stuff kind of piles up to a point that most people in the League community will complain about the game on a pretty regular basis, and there's kind of an air of encouragement for anyone who's able to quit. If someone's able to walk away from the game and cut it out of their lives, people say, good on you. Good job being able to cut a toxic experience out of your life for good. I hope you're better off for it. You might think I'm in the same sort of scenario because I haven't played League in a long period of time. You might think, oh, it should be nice not having to deal with solo queue, and I must be so happy that I'm not constantly subjecting myself to the frustrations you deal with when you play ranked. But I don't feel that way at all. I miss League of Legends very dearly, and I am incredibly sad that it's out of my life. Looking back on it now, I kind of feel like League of Legends is a bit like school. Like when you go to school, when you're a kid going through the school system, there's a lot of things that are not fun about that period of life. You have to deal with homework, you have to deal with bad teachers, group projects where not everybody pulls their weight, and you have to go through puberty at some point. That's not fun. And because of that, a lot of kids, by the time they're graduating high school, are really excited to go off to college or enter the workforce and become an adult with real responsibility. But it's only after you become an adult and you have to deal with real responsibility and the crushing weight of the world, dealing with taxes and trying to stay healthy by preparing meals and going to the gym. You have a 9-to-5 job that you hate. You have no time or energy for hobbies or interests anymore. And it's only then that you kind of miss school. You miss the days when all you had to worry about was homework, when you got to go learn something in a fun environment with other people your own age, see friends every day, and play Halo 3 when you got home each evening with nothing to worry about. I kind of think League of Legends is the same thing. It's a really stressful and awful experience to play it sometimes, but you're gonna miss it when it's gone. Now, I totally understand if you don't believe me here, but let me provide a bit of evidence for my argument. I think because I was forced to stop playing League of Legends and can't go back, I have a somewhat interesting perspective, because I'm only now realizing League of Legends gave me certain experiences that I can't really find in other areas of life, and I never appreciated them enough. Like, the first thing that immediately comes to mind is I never realized how League of Legends teaches you how to achieve goals. It teaches you how to set goals, how to do things that you've never done before, improve on yourself, to tackle adversity, overcome hurdles, mature emotionally, and really become a better person through the process, all in a very safe environment. That's something that's difficult to find anywhere else, and I never appreciated enough how League gives you that experience. Like, normally, the sorts of things people set as goals in the real world are oftentimes really difficult, confusing, and have lots of consequences if you fail. Think about the kinds of things people would say they want to achieve at some point in their life. People will oftentimes say that they want to get married, they want to find a life partner they can spend the rest of eternity with. People will say they want to buy a house, home ownership, that's a dream many people have. These sorts of things can definitely feel really exciting to accomplish, but they have a lot of risk associated with them. Like, what if you buy a house you cannot afford? It's a pretty risky thing to go into $300,000 of debt at the very least to buy a house that you then become responsible for. If anything goes wrong, you have to take care of it yourself. That is a pretty large amount of risk that you take on when going through that sort of adventure. Same deal with getting married. I mean, marriage can be a very enjoyable, fulfilling thing, but what if you marry the wrong person? What if you end up in a loveless marriage? What if you have to get divorced? Hopefully you don't have children and have to worry about a custody battle and splitting your assets and all this kind of scary stuff. As exciting as some of these goals are to achieve, they have some pretty heavy downsides associated with any potential failure, and not to mention they're pretty difficult too. I mean, doing something like becoming a homeowner as a millennial can be very difficult, or finding a woman who will love you. League of Legends, on the other hand, is interesting because it's an environment where you can set goals for yourself that require you to overcome a lot of adversity in achieving any of them, but it's all in a very safe environment without any sort of consequences. Like, imagine the average bronze player who wants to climb up to gold rating in solo queue, let's say. For that bronze player to go from bronze to gold, that's a tough task that's going to require a lot of determination, a lot of work ethic. It's going to require a lot of time spent with that player looking at their gameplay, finding the faults in where they struggle and how they can improve, and just grinding out the requisite practice to actually rise in skill to a point that they can climb up to gold. That is a journey that might take so long and require so much effort that it's very possible it's going to feel about as good as buying a house to conclude that journey when the bronze player actually does reach gold. But unlike buying a house, there's not really any risk of failure there. If the player gets too stressed out by solo queue, or can't handle the frustrating teammates, or if there's any sort of speed bump along the way and they want to take a break or just give up on the journey entirely, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they will not be punished in any sort of way. One of the best feelings there is in life is the sense of accomplishment you feel when you reach a goal that required you to improve on yourself in a significant way to do things you've never done before. League of Legends is interesting in that it allows you to teach yourself how to go through that process in a safe environment. That's what you do when you play League of Legends. When you grind out matches in ranked, you are spending time honing your abilities to hopefully climb in rating and do things that you've never done before, and it's all in a completely safe, risk-free place. The actual journey you have to go on might not be an entirely fun one. I mean, we all know how frustrating solo queue can be and all the negative emotions you'll feel when you go through a million different losses, but honestly, I miss that just as much as I miss anything anything else with League of Legends. The emotional roller coaster of going from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows is something that I don't think I've found in any other form of entertainment since League has kind of exited my life. I mean, think about the saddest thing you've ever seen in a movie or the most angering thing you've ever read on the news. Have you ever felt a negative emotion as strongly as the emotion you feel when you're playing solo queue and you're carrying the hell out of your team and you are just in the game because you've been playing your ass off and some idiot goes out and gets caught at the 60th minute by walking into the unwarded jungle, causing you to lose? Have you ever felt a frustration that large before in any other facet of life? Personally, I've never felt the level of despair that solo queue brings me in any other area or field, which might sound like a funny thing that I'm listing this as a positive of League of Legends, but with those extremely low lows, that coincides with some pretty high highs as well. Of all the other forms of fun you can find in the entertainment industry, I don't think anything can really compare to the feeling you get when you do carry a team, when you drag 4 dead carcasses to a win that nobody deserves except for you because you played your ass off and were able to carry the worst team imaginable and got a win that nobody else would have been able to get in that situation. That feeling of elation is unlike anything I've ever experienced. I've seen my favorite NFL team win the Super Bowl, and I don't know if that felt as good as carrying a bad team in League. The emotional roller coaster this game takes you on is unlike anything else I've experienced in life, and I totally understand if some people can't handle the lowest of lows or might not like that kind of crazy swing of emotions, but if you are the kind of thrill seeker after that, I don't think there's really any other place you can go. Perhaps the number one thing that sucks about not being able to play League of Legends anymore, though, is I never realized how productive of a hobby it really is. Like, playing League of Legends it's a good way to spend an afternoon. It keeps you out of trouble, which isn't to say that I spend my days shooting up heroin now that I can't play League in my free time. It's just that dedicating an evening to working on improving yourself through concentrated practice, getting better at a skill, facing adversity, maturing emotionally, reaching goals that you set for yourself in a very healthy cycle, that's a good way to spend a weekend. That's a good way to spend a Saturday afternoon. Nowadays, I just argue with strangers on Twitter about politics. I'll browse Reddit forever, looking at social media. Those are nowhere near as productive as the kinds of healthy habits you can develop when doing something like playing League. I do understand there are other video games out there that can give you a very meaningful sense of accomplishment when completing difficult tasks and facing adversity in a somewhat similar way, but I don't know if any of them can really compare to League. Even if you think about some really famously difficult games like Dark Souls, things that might be very tough to complete, those games are still designed to be beaten. They're designed to be difficult at first, but to also have mechanics that you can learn and master, eventually becoming so good at the game that you will beat it. The idea is that a willing person will eventually climb the difficulty curve and conquer the adversity that they face. League of Legends is a unique experience, though, in that you aren't playing against a difficulty curve. You aren't playing in a situation that's designed for you by the developers. You are playing up against other real human beings. And if you're setting a goal for yourself to win more games than you lose or climb in rating, the only way that you can achieve that is by stomping on other people's dreams along the way. League of Legends is a zero-sum game. For you to win a match, you have to hand a loss to 5 other people on the enemy team, and they're trying to hand you a loss in the exact same sort of way. And I think that there's something to be said for the kind of adversity that you have to overcome to beat other people, other motivated human beings who are just as motivated, just as skilled, just as determined as you are. Coming out on top in that sort of situation is one of the most thrilling and exciting experiences you can get. You earn that kind of victory. You earn that kind of achievement when you win a match in League of Legends because nobody gave that to you. There's something to be said for accomplishments in online games because they aren't designed for everyone to win. They they aren't designed for everyone to climb the difficulty curve. Not everybody can get Challenger in League of Legends. Not everybody can be Diamond. Not everyone can be Gold or even Silver. There have to be losers for there to be winners, and for you to work hard and improve on yourself to become one of those winners is just an unbelievably good feeling. I understand that not everybody has a healthy relationship with this game. There's probably lots of people watching this video right now who do not relate to anything I'm saying whatsoever, but if you are the kind of thrill seeker that is looking to go and put yourself in stressful situations and overcome meaningful adversity to achieve really difficult tasks and grow as an individual along the way, there aren't really many other places that you can do that. I think the thing that's really affected me about not being able to play League anymore, though, is I never realized this all comes to an end one day. One of my favorite movies of all time is Moneyball, which includes the story of Billy Beane, who's the general manager for the Oakland A's, trying to take one of the poorest ball clubs in baseball and turn them into a winning team. And in the movie, there's a scene that includes a flashback to when Billy Beane was a senior in high school. He was 18 years old and was touted as this really exciting baseball recruit. He was going to go and he was what they called a five-tool player. He was going to immediately become a star in baseball. And the New York Mets wanted to draft him. They wanted to draft him to come and play for their team, although he was also offered a scholarship at Stanford, a full ride to a very prestigious university in the United States. So there's this scene in the movie where a scout for the Mets is trying to convince Billy to sign with them if they choose to draft him. And when he's having this little meeting, he says something really interesting to him. He says, "We're all told at some point that we can no longer play the children's game. We just don't know when that's going to be. Some of us are told at 18, some of us are told at 40, but we're all told." No matter how good you are at a sport, there is a point in every athlete's life when they're told that they can no longer play a game the way they used to, the way they were when they were younger. Time marches on, their body slowly grows weaker, and they just can't handle that same level of practice. And we don't think about it in video games, but this applies to esports as well. One of the greatest AD carries of all time, as we all know, was Uzi, who was an AD carry famously great on Royal Never Give Up, but he had to retire in his early 20s because the immense amount of practice he put in towards becoming a great player destroyed his arms health-wise. I think a doctor said he had the arms and wrists and hands of like a 40 or 50-year-old. I think because esports don't quite have the same level of physical intensity that traditional sports do, we don't really think about the fact that it all comes to an end someday, that at some point we can't play the game the way we used to. And I get that it probably still sounds funny to some people that not playing a game can be such a source of pain for someone like myself. But it's not really just a game, though, is it? It's a sport. You don't pick up League of Legends for 2 weeks and then put it down and never try to play it again. This is the kind of thing you can devote your entire life to and never know the level of strategy and nuance and depth and everything that goes on with all the complexities involved. It's something that you really have to spend a lot of time learning and practicing and studying, and in the process of becoming a better player, a smarter player, you kind of learn how to become a better person, as cheesy as that sounds. And I wish that I appreciated it more when I had the chance. I want to give a special thank you and shout out to my patrons, anyone who's ever pledged any amount of money to me on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. It's because of kind donations like that that I'm able to make very weird and personal introspective content like this. If you are perhaps someone who wants to see more videos like this and you have not pledged to me on Patreon, please consider doing it. That goes a hell of a long way in allowing me to do weird, personal, experimental things like this, and I try to give a lot of different rewards over there. So even if you just consider doing it and don't go through with it, I appreciate you giving me the time of day. And thank you very much if you're still listening to my voice right now. Thanks for hearing me out and listening to my story. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you guys in our next video. So signing off right now, let's go ahead and say it one more time. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.